Hey everyone, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be doing Pro Player Insight Episode 3 featuring G2 Caps. Now, I love watching this guy play. He's so incredibly intuitive, creative, versatile, and flexible, and there's one quality I love about Caps. It's the fact that he's not afraid to push his limits, make a mistake, go into the review, learn from it, and improve. And that really pays dividends in the long run, and it's probably one of the biggest reasons why he's one of the most dominant mid laners over in EU. So diving straight in, guys, the VOD we're going to be looking at today is of a game where Caps is playing Kassadin versus Twisted Fate. Now, this is a very common matchup in solo queue at the moment, purely because both Kassadin and Twisted Fate are probably two of the most strong solo queue mid laners on the current patch. And actually, on my recent 10.13 solo queue tier list, I put Kassadin at S tier and Twisted Fate at A tier. So if you're interested in looking at my solo queue tier list, go to my Discord, navigate to the FAQ channel. I have my tier list there with a few notes underneath describing why that is the case. But I wanted to take this video as an opportunity not only to highlight what Caps does specifically as a player that makes him really good, what are some of the mid fundamentals, some of the creative things that he does, but why Kassadin is such a strong pick in solo queue, and why I've actually been telling you guys in my Discord and in my community why I think Kassadin is such a strong pick, especially on the current patch. Also, why this VOD was so interesting was that Caps was actually versing the Zazie Trick mid-jungle duo. So they're both the SK mid laner and SK jungle, which was a very, very tricky game for Caps. So it'll be really interesting to look at that. And Kassadin actually got behind in the early game. He was actually paired with a Graves jungle, which has very little gank threat as well. So there's no gank setup with Kassadin. There's not really a heavy gank jungle Graves as well. So it was quite a sticky situation. And on top of that, he actually had two losing side lanes. His top lane got solo killed. His bot lane was getting solo killed. So he actually had two losing sides. So this was a very interesting VOD. And I'm fascinated to see what Caps does specifically to both minimize when behind and how did he get back into the game. So what are we actually going to be looking for in this VOD review? Now, the first thing I want to look for is specifically how he navigates tough situations, because we all get behind in solo queue, whether it's your jungler dies to your laner, you get solo killed, you get ganked, your side lanes are losing, whatever. I really want to talk about how he navigates this situation through wave manipulation, warding, leaning, reset timers, all of these little details and mid fundamentals that allow him to get back into the game. Also want to take a look at itemization choices and rune choices, which are very, very important. And also, guys, I want to take a look at both the great things that he does and the suboptimal things, guys. We have to remember, in order to learn from a VOD, we have to come in with a very open mindset, ready to critique. These players, yes, they're amazing players, the best of the best, but they're not robots. They don't play perfectly. In order to get the most value out of a VOD review, we must come in with an open mindset and be like, you know what? That actually probably wasn't the best play, but that was a really good play. I want to replicate that, but I don't really want to replicate that. We've got to come in with this open mindset. And you know what? He maybe does play flawlessly, but you know, you can't come in with the expectation that he does play perfectly. Otherwise, you're going to miss a lot of details. And actually, I'm personally really interested to see what are some of the creative choices Caps makes to get that LP. What I've found with some of these amazing players, like, you know, even in Korea with Showmaker, players like that Rookie, Knight, all these amazing players, is that they have a very intuitive way of looking at the game, and they're able to make extremely creative plays that literally turn the tides of a game. So I'm really interested to see what creative choices he makes to end up getting the victory here. And I also really want to look at what the enemy could have done to punish harder. Yes, we will look at what Caps could have done, how could he have played better, what were some of the things he really did well, but why not? Why not actually look at what Zazie and Trick could have done as a mid-jungle duo to maybe turn that early lead into a victory? Maybe they could have lent better, maybe it was to do with bases, etc, etc. Let's learn as much and take as much away from this VOD as possible. So, at the end of this whole video, guys, I'm going to have a whole separate slide kind of breaking down and summarizing the key takeaways, the positives and the negatives. So Don't just skip through parts of it and go to the end. If you go to the takeaway section, it's not really going to make too much sense. So without further ado, let's dive straight into this VOD of Caps playing Kassadin into Twisted Fate. So diving into this VOD, guys, before we can even begin covering the rune choices made by Caps, we need to initially break down what composition Caps is versing, because that will add a little bit more context and give us a bit more context in regards to the choices Caps makes for his runes. So just taking a look here on the left hand side, Caps was versing a GP, Trundle, Twisted Fate, Callista, and a Thresh. Now, what I've found personally in my experience seeing Kassadin, playing Kassadin, that sort of thing, is that Kassadin's effectiveness generally is directly correlated with the amount of lockdown within the game. If there is not much lockdown at all, so a lot of low CC champions, Kassadin can always find a way to pop off. But conversely, if there is a lot of lockdown, then Kassadin really finds it hard to navigate team fights, finds it hard to find those windows, and it can be really, really difficult to team fight because you've got to rift walk in, go melee range, you get locked up, then you can just get one shot. So what do we see on the left-hand side? We see a decent amount of lockdown from Twisted Fate, Callista and Thresh, decent amount of lockdown. So these three champions are actually quite good into Kassadin. Callista's okay. I mean, not terrible. If she has ultimate, it's okay, but Callista alone is quite easy for Kassadin, but it's more the Thresh and the Twisted Fate here. Champions like Trundle and GP aren't a big deal because they don't have any hard CC. Now, this backs up my theory, my initial theory of why Kassadin has gained popularity on patch 10.12 and patch 10.13. The main reason, in my opinion, is because the jungle meta has actually shifted away from champions like J4, Rek'Sai, Elise. A lot of these gank-oriented junglers that can, lock down, really punish Kassadin in the early game. We're seeing a lot more Trundle, Graves, Nidalee, Evelyn. Champions that I guess are more camp focused. Yes, they can gank, but they don't have that hard CC. They don't have that lockdown, which is what Kassadin is really scared of. So that's something I'm already thinking about. Now, in regards to rune choices, Caps down here in the bottom left-hand corner has gone Fleet Footwork. Presence of Mind makes a lot of sense already because Fleet Footwork, this is probably going to be quite a heavy trading matchup. Twisted Fate can actually, build waves and poke Kassadin quite nicely. Twisted Fate's early landing is actually not terrible. He's actually gone for Legend Tenacity, which makes a lot of sense. You're versing a considerable amount of hard CC between the Thresh and the Twisted Fate, which is point and click stun. And Coup de Grace makes a lot of sense here. Then this is where things get a little bit interesting. Generally, from what I've seen from players like Doinby, who are big Kassadin advocates over in Korea and China, they go Taste of Blood with Ultimate Hunter, not Ravenous Hunter. So they go one row of CDR instead of what Caps has done here with a double adaptive force. They go one row of CDR with Ultimate Hunter with Taste of Blood. Now, I'm assuming the theory is here. Obviously, Ravenous Hunter gives you better sustain within a team fight. Probably gives you a little bit better side laning as well if you get poked down. But I kind of feel like you get plenty of healing from Fleet Footwork and Taste of Blood within the laning phase anyway. And by the time it gets to mid-game, it's less about sustain. It's more about burst. So maybe his theory is, I'm not going to be able to do multiple ultimates within a fight anyway. So maybe I just want to get my damage off, heal up as much as I can, and navigate the fight that way rather than just zipping around, because maybe he feels like he's going to get locked down, so that even the CDR on the ultimate's not really going to change anything. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading into it too much. Maybe it's just preference at the end of the day. If you think, guys, you have a reason to understand why he opted in for this choice, feel free to leave a comment below. For me personally, I like Ultimate Hunter and I like taking one row of CDR. Now, he's also opted in for TP, which makes a lot of sense. One thing about this matchup, we should see Emax. Emax is the way to go on Kassadin, unless it's a very, very hard matchup. Sometimes, like Syndra, you should put a few, maybe 3 points in Q, then max E for that extra durability with the magic shield. Other than that, you want to be going E, especially since you get a lot of durability and sustain from the Fleet Footwork anyway. So, in this early laning phase, I would expect Kassadin to get hard shoved in. I guess Twisted Fate has a few options. He can maybe slow build a wave into Kassadin, poke under tower, or he can maybe hard push, bounce a wave, and make Kassadin really gankable pre-6. because that's a very viable strategy sometimes, and especially since they're duo mid-jungle. That wouldn't surprise me. Now, Tom actually dies early in the game here, which is quite troublesome. Not looking good already. Now, in terms of jungle paths, guys, Trundle is a champion that clears relatively fast, but Trundle actually has decent level 3 ganks. It'll be interesting to see how Twist of Fate navigates and manipulates this wave, whether he wants to just play for pressure and let Trundle kind of invade or gank side lanes, just gonna play for pressure, play for river control, that sort of thing, poke under tower, knowing that Graves really doesn't have any gank threat anyway. Or, like I said, Zazie here can, you know, push the wave, bounce the wave, and as it gets like level 3, level 4, comes out level 3, level 4, then potentially set up a gank onto this Kassadin and blow the flash, that sort of thing. Could be quite viable, so we'll see what happens there. Now, in terms of runes, actually, this Twist of Fate went for Unsealed Spellbook, Magical Footwear, DMAT, Time Warp with secondary Nimbus Cloak, Transcendence. Pretty stock standard at the moment. One thing I really like what he did, he actually went 1 row of attack speed, which makes a lot of sense in these melee matchups, especially when you want to play for wave control. You know, control the waves, especially when you want to build waves, it can come in handy as well. But in any melee or low range matchup, attack speed comes in handy. So, again, really not too much Kassadin can do in this early laning phase. And he's actually opted in for D shield. Stock standard stuff here. What I would recommend majority of the time on Kassadin is fleet footwork with D shield. So it looks like heavy trading top. And I'm only going to play this VOD through Caps' point of view. I don't want to look at what the enemy team... I want to look at what information he specifically has. So I believe here he knew that Trundle would have started red. So he probably knows that Trundle started red here. Really not much Caps can do here. He's going to get level 2. Graves has done a very strange path. He's done red Raptors into... Oh, okay. What he would have done here is actually would have done red Raptors and then use his sweeper here, I'm assuming. Or maybe he was going to look for an early gank top. I don't know. No, he didn't even sweep. Didn't have it. So he just walks through. Not much he could do. Twist of Fate built a wave, level 1 and 2. Look for poke under tower. Okay. Yeah. So this is pretty stock standard into Kassadins. You generally want to build a wave under poke under tower, especially when you're not really threatened by the enemy jungle. Now, this is crucial, this specific moment here. When you look at VODs, guys, when this wave specifically, or this time frame, after they've built the wave and crashed it under the tower, you need to think about, okay, do you want to continue to push, continue to hit harass, or do you want to let the wave come out again and then make that gank opportunity? It's very important, very crucial part in any laning phase. So Zazie looks like he's continuing to push. Trundle's looking for an early gank top. Now Aatrox has actually died twice already. Not looking good at all. And holy moly, Aatrox loses a lot of minions top. So this Aatrox is screwed. Really screwed here. He's already around 10 CS behind. See what he picks up here. I'm interested to see what Caps' itemization is going to be like this game. Really nothing too much he can do. He's only got 18 CS. He's going to base it around... See if he bases here. He's got around 600 gold. Oh, man. This is rough. Now, one thing I quickly want to go back over before we go any further in this. I want to assess this decision making from Zazie. So, he built this wave here. Now, if, hypothetically, guys, if you were wanting to set up ganks, you would not hit this wave. You would actually just let it come out here. You wouldn't hit this wave. It would come out to you. It'd be completely fine. It would slow push out. But, as you can see here, Zazie ends up attacking the wave. And not letting it come out. So I wanted to talk about that. So maybe this was because Trick wanted to play the sides, especially since his GP was taking really good trades. So if you're mid-jungle duo, it doesn't necessarily mean you always need to play for ganks mid. A lot of the time, if you're playing mid-jungle duo in these sorts of situations, it's great for your jungler if you can just play safe mid, maintain pressure, lean to one side, that sort of thing, knowing that he can't really gank. Now, Twistface is leaning to top side, knowing that Graves is going to be, went through mid there, 100% going on to bot side. It's just a misconception that you always need to gank mid if you're doing a mid-jungle duo. A lot of the best mid-jungle duos view themselves as like two independent champions that are making decisions that are best for them as individuals, rather than trying to compensate for each other, if that makes sense. I'll kind of highlight that more within this VOD. But yeah, there's really not much Caps can do in this early laning phase. He really just has to collect farm under tower as much as he can. And he can't even get to tier gold, unfortunately. So I don't even believe he gets to tier gold. Zazi's doing a really good job of damaging that tower as well. Okay, so it looks like Caps is going to base on a cannon wave here. Beautiful. Zazie ends up dematting the cannon wave. So he's actually not playing for the wave clear. He's just playing for control. I like that usage of the demat for Zazie here. But looks like Kassadin's going to TP back here. TP animation's a bit bugged, but Graves kind of pushes him out. So what do we see here? So Caps ends up coming back, buying a Dark Seal and a refillable pot with a pink ward. Pretty stock standard stuff, especially for the early game. Graves ends up pushing Twisted Fate all the way back. This gives Caps an opportunity here to pull the wave and set up a bit of a freeze and force Twisted Fate to TP back to lane or miss a lot of CS. So Caps has pulled the wave here. Beautiful. Okay, this is massive. I love what this guy's doing. I need to highlight this. So look at Graves. This is really, really big here. Let's go all the way back. So, Caps is getting bullied hardcore in the early game here. Now, Graves knows that Trundle was topside because Trundle went for this, went for that early top gank. Trundle was really smart and did his Raptors as well, so he couldn't even get his Raptors counter gank, but Graves ended up taking Trundle's Krugs. So here, this Graves knows that Kassadin wants to come back and TP. So what this guy's doing, he's pushing him off and making it so Twisted Fate can't get the wave in and crash the wave under tower. I'm not sure if this was his intention or he just wanted to cross map and go back to his Raptors, but I'm pretty sure a lot of junglers at the highest level really understand how mid lane really works, and he knows that if he can prevent Twisted Fate from getting the wave in here, Twisted Fate, Kassadin's going to be able to TP back and hold the freeze, or force the TP back from Kassadin. Because if he doesn't do that and this wave just crashes, then Zazie doesn't even have to use TP. He can just recall and just walk back to lane and actually save his TP if he wants to. And look what Graves does this. He gets the Scry's Bloom, forces TF to walk all the way back here. Look at this. This is beautiful jungling. Forcing the Twisted Fate to walk all the way back. He doesn't just stop there. He keeps going. He's continually trying to find Twisted Fate because Caps has a freeze here. So he stops his recall again. Look at that. He actually even smoke screens where he thought he was going to be recalling. Look at this. You'll see in a second. So Twisted Fate is actually recalling around this corner. And then Graves ends up using a smoke screen to stop it. Look at that. So he's bought so much time. This has actually gotten Kassadin kind of back into the game. Now, look what happens. Trick knows that this way is screwed, so he comes back to fix the wave. He ends up walking up here and smiting the minion just to make sure it gets in there. So both the junglers are hardcore, really understand how mid waves work, and are trying to help out their respective mid laners. Now, you may think, oh yeah, like what if my jungler doesn't do that? It's not a massively big deal because, again, it's really not going to change too much how strong Kassadin is. All it really does is limit, I would say, lessen the strength of Twisted Fate rather than keep Kassadin down. Kassadin is always going to be weak in this early laning phase anyway. Now, okay, Twisted Fate ends up TPing bot. Now, this is a very big decision here. So what actually happens? So Kassadin's on the tower here. The wave crashes. Looks like, so Trick stays on the map. Kassadin is pushing the wave out. Twist of Fate TP's bot. Which is this is a really bad TP from Zazie here. This is worst case scenario. Because he got all that farm denied from him from Caps freezing. He also now, I mean, Caps is now pushing it out and is nearly getting very, very close to 6. Because that's where most Kassadin matchups really shift, is when he gets 6. Because you can't really gank him anymore. Then Caps pushes in the wave and denies him a whole nother wave here. So this is actually worst case scenario. And I actually believe Caps would be up in CS right now. Yeah, Caps is up in CS. Near what, like half a level. A whole half a level worth of XP. Okay, so Caps ends up warding this. I don't know why he doesn't pink. He mustn't pink here because he's top. So he has a choice to pink. He has 2 trinkets. He ends up not trinketing the Raptors. Instead, he trinkets the river here. I'm assuming this is because he thinks this is where Twist of Fate's going to walk, and he wanted to maybe he didn't know, maybe Trundle was going to do like, maybe he thought Trundle could potentially do this dragon, and then after that dragon come here, or maybe he thought Trick could stay on the map, walk over here and hover Twist of Fate. I don't know. I don't really know why he would go for this ward and not on the Raptors. In my opinion, it's pretty obvious that this Trundle has to recall. He stayed on the map way too long, in my opinion. So he needs to base. I just think warding Raptors probably would have been a lot better. And just maybe pinking that. But I guess it was smart not to pink it because he knows his jungler's not here. His bot lane's reset. He doesn't actually have control of that. And he actually knows Twist of Fate's walking up. So Twist of Fate could have easily cleared that. So I think it was a very good choice from Caps there not to pink yet. So right now, he actually has 2 losing sides. Tarm 0-2, Felios is 0-1, Aatrox is actually 0-2. His Graves is relatively strong, again, but Trundle's also strong, so. So now, Caps is basically going to get his level 6 for free, but even then, that's still not amazing for Kassadin, because he's still going to have no items. He doesn't have a tier stacking, he doesn't have his Catalyst for durability. Graves ends up getting his base topped because that must have been, yeah, that was warded. Kassadin 6. He tries to back up his team. Thresh comes for a... And this is what I'm talking about. This is that lockdown. This is what counters Kassadin. So Thresh ends up going for a roam. Now, this is a very common roam timing, guys. If you're a mid laner, a lot of you guys in high elo will know this, but whenever a play has happened bot, so that whole play happened bot, right? It was a 2v2, whatever, Trundle ganked, they got the kills, whatever. Generally, what happens after a play bot is that they get the wave in and they recall. There's always a window. Majority of the time, there's a window. As this wave has crashed, it's going to come back out like it's doing now. It's actually coming out and slow pushing towards the Kalista and the Thresh. So Thresh doesn't need to immediately attend this bot lane anymore, because Thresh knows, well, I'm just going to let the wave come out. I'm not going to miss any farm because it's going to be slow pushing out. Maybe miss 1 CS, whatever. It's not a big deal. What I can do in this window, because my Kalista can safely catch the farm back here, it's going to be coming in towards my 80 carry. He has time to go for a roam, clear vision, clear a pink ward, put a pink ward, back up, make a play, make a mid roam before he really needs to be bot lane. So this Thresh, as you get to high elo, they'll just walk, or the support will walk here in this specific. Usually they walk here. Sometimes if they have a lot of time, they actually do the loop-de-loop, and they loop all the way around here and trying to gank you from the top side, knowing most mid laners won't expect it. But as you get high elo, you'll really start to see this as a pattern. And what do we see here? In a second, the wave's still so pushing out, so he's not really going to miss much. And then Thresh comes for a roam here. Now, Caps put the ward in the perfect location. If you don't put the ward in this location, it won't see this. And you'll notice a lot of supports as well, they try to hug the wall here, because if the person does a sloppy ward and doesn't put it on the edge of this bush and maybe puts it here, then this actually won't see Thresh. But because he just went in and out of the vision, and maybe Caps was focusing on this 2v2 here, or this gank, then he gets flanked. He should have actually just flashed way earlier here, but he held on to his flash. He gets locked down by Thresh here, into the stun from Twist of Fate, and then up getting a kill. Again, lockdown. This is what is one of the biggest counters to Kassadin. So, not a great start. He's burned his flash. He's going to lose a whole wave here. Twisted Fate's going to get 6 any second. Even though he's ahead in CS, it's going to be a really hard game for Kassadin. So Clissa's 3-0. They have full river control right now. He only has a tier, which is, I mean, this is such a greedy build path from Caps, in my opinion. I personally am a big advocate for just going straight into, if you're doing okay in lane, use the 850 or ideally 850 to get a blasting wand. What is tiers? What, like 750? Or is it 850, 750, whatever? I can't remember off the top of my head. But ideally, either a blasting wand, literally go blasting wand, or if you have a 1100, you can go straight for catalyst. This way, you get to your rower as fast as possible. Then you just build tier later. It's very rare, in my opinion, that you see Kassadin's actually build tier. We'll see what he does with it. Maybe he just knows, accepts reality that if we actually look at his gold, how much gold did he have? So he actually could have got a blasting wand here, but he didn't. So maybe his theory was, I'm not going to be able to contest 2v2 anyway. I'm so weak that I just need to scale and farm. I'm all in on my identity and just all in on that, on that late game scaling. Stack up that tier. So TF ends up getting the wave out. He's going to go for a recall. He ends up swapping to Ghost, which is a great choice, given how fast-paced this game is. They're down. The team's already down, what, 2.5k gold? So not looking good. I hate this. I mean, maybe he feels like he can't control River anyway because he's got 2 losing sides. And if he puts a pink in the dot bush, he's not going to be able to defend it anyway. And maybe he feels like, well, there's no point warding defensively because Twisted Fate, I'm not going to see Twisted Fate at all with that. So maybe he thinks, all right, if I put it here, then maybe I can contest it because it's somewhat closer to the lane and I don't need to fully commit. I don't know. I don't like this ward. I don't feel like it really does anything. Purely because Trundle can come from behind anyway. But we should see less ganks mid now anyway because Kassadin's 6 and I don't think that Kassadin's that gankable anymore. Now, look at this. Because Caps here knows that Twisted Fate's recalled and he doesn't have TP, he decides to hard shove this wave in instead of slow building it. So he ends up just hard shoving the wave in. And he's obviously maxing E. That's what you want to be doing in this situation. Beautiful, gets the wave in. See where he uses his ward. Does he use his ward? Okay, he uses his ward on the Raptors. Beautiful. And I love this. Look, I don't know who's pinging this, but look at this. As soon as Kassadin leans out of River here, see how there's all these missing pings? Or you see in a second. All these like missing pings here. So everyone knows, like they're really on top of where Kassadin's roaming. Oh wow, what the hell? Trundle was sitting in this bush. Holy moly. So he gets that ward. Interesting. Okay, this is definitely a mid-jungle duo move. Holy moly. Oh my goodness. Poor Caps, man. Wow, what a good play, man. What a good play from Zazie and Trick. Wait, does he die as well? No way. Holy moly. Okay. So, let's break this down. So, if we look at the other vision, so what would have happened here? Wait, how did Trundle get there? Whoa, he actually walked behind. Holy moly, this was next level. What? That's such a good play, man. What the hell? He sits in this line of vision here. Wow. So, generally, sometimes you do see this with mid-jungles in terms of, like, not this specific pathing with the jungle, but sometimes what you do see is that, okay, if this guy, this Twisted Fate, is basing now, he knows that most likely this Kassadin is going to shove this next wave and duck out of vision. Sometimes what actually happens, because Twisted Fate can get back to lane relatively quickly with the ultimate, the Destiny, the jungle will know, okay, I can actually position myself here already, knowing that as soon as you come out, and I actually believe the Twisted Fate uses Ghost to get even out of base faster, you know he's either going to get this wave out 100% and use his Rift Walk aggressively, in which you can get ganked, or he's going to, you know, look for a deep ward with that bit of move, and we can like punish him because it's really telegraphed in a way. So just overall, really great play from Zazie, and I don't think there's much to. I think Caps couldn't really have done anything. He did the right thing. He lent out a vision, got a really good deep ward, but it didn't really mean anything. So he's in a very, very sticky situation right now. So his bot lane actually ends up getting a kill, which is super nice. So that potentially is their win con. But Aatrox is getting pumped, and he gets tier 1 boots. He's so incredible. He's actually not far behind 1v1. In terms of XP, I think he's actually slightly ahead, because there's been a lot of shared XP between Twistfate, and Twistfate missed a lot of that farm in the early game. But in terms of just game pace, this is not going well for Kassadin. Like, this game is being played way too fast for Kassadin, in my opinion. So, ends up getting the blue. Trundle and TF end up getting the Rift Herald. Now, if you were playing as the Zazie and Trick right now, you would 110% want to break this mid tower and boom the game. That's what I would want to do. Although, there is 2 plates top, so they could actually just straight up rift top and break top, which is also very valuable. But we'll see how they use it. So Caps gets blue buff right now. He's still able to trade quite aggressively here. Now, he's actually opting in for a bit of a freeze, because he has no flash. Graves ends up getting Dragon because he knows Trundle was topside, getting the Rift Herald. So he's able to thin the wave here. I want to look at this thing here. Wait, what happens? Okay, look at this. So, Twist of Fate holds his card, and then as soon as Twist of Fate uses red card on the wave, this sends a signal to Caps that he knows he can posture aggressively and thin the wave. You'll see this in a second now, because he knows the wild card, the picker card's still down, because then he can go for a trade or go for a window to thin the wave. Now, this is incredibly important for a lot of you guys watching. If you don't take these windows to thin the wave or to take a trade or to do anything, this is what I call walking that tightrope. Yes, you are behind, but it doesn't mean you need to give everything. It doesn't mean you need to sit back and be like, no, like, I'm weak, I'll take everything, take it. Like, don't do that. You can't be in that mindset. You must be in the mindset where I want to minimize the amount of move or the amount of priority or the amount of options that Twisted Fate has to do something or make a play. So he knows that the bigger this wave, Caps knows, the bigger this wave is, the more time TF can have to roam, poke under tower, whatever. It's going to be, harder for his team to navigate the game. So he's able to, yes, he's really far behind and he's only sitting on a tier, but he does know that if he has blue buff, he's able to posture quite aggressively, he has 4 points E, he's got his ultimate, he's got plenty of mana, he can thin the wave. So there's actually not much of a wave here at all. And look, Kassadin actually walks up, he's trying to spot Twisted Fate here, I'm assuming. Gets another nice little ward out. And he's not playing like a complete bitch. This is what I love. He's trying to get the wave out as much as he can. He shouldn't be using R aggressively here, but he does, okay. He's got balls. Maybe he thinks that Twisted Fate's maybe recalled. Potentially, maybe he thought he recalled. It's very ballsy to use his Rift Walk like that aggressively, especially since he doesn't have flash still. But he does it. Okay, ends up recalling. Does he recall? How much gold does he have? He has 9,000 here. Gets a plate. What is Twisted Fate doing? Okay. I really don't like that initial play that Twisted Fate did in this game. Bought and lost all that farm and didn't TP back to like break that freeze. To just get back in lane. It was really, really bad. So nice guy, Tom. So looks like a bot play is happening. It's very telegraphed. I love how Caps doesn't compensate here. He just ends up focusing on the farm. Yes, a play's coming. Everyone's pinging on their way, things like that. But he doesn't compensate. He needs to value his farm. And considering what has happened, He's died twice, but because he's actually had a pretty good wave manipulation, and he's always TP'd back, he hasn't tried to compensate, hasn't done anything like that, he's actually valued his farm, he's actually sitting at 90 CS at 10 minutes. You know, it's actually relatively good. Pretty good. Gets his farm here, doesn't compensate, then he goes to the play. So it looks like they see Twisted Fate in the river here. Oh. He's caught out of position. He doesn't have flash. Slow. Two stacks. Gets a kill here. That's massive. Now what happens? A lot of pings going on. And then looks like... Oh, if this shutdown... Oh, he gets a big shutdown onto Callista. Oh... Now this is huge. This Aphelios is huge now. Alright. This is why I hate versing Kassadin. This is why. So, yes. You've killed Kassadin twice. Even then, that was hard to do because... I mean, that second gank was exceptional. Like, that not many players would have been able to kill a post-6 Kassadin anyway. So they did that. Also, the roam from the Thresh was really well played. Now, what happens in my games, when I verse Kassadin, or when I seen Kassadin in my games, this sort of thing happens. Kassadin is 0-2, they accept reality, they farm on the tower, they give a lot of pressure, whatever. You start to snowball the side lanes, that sort of thing. Now, if you misstep once... You missed it once like this, out of position. You get caught once and give that one kill to Kassadin. It's so hard to come back. For some reason, it just feels like Kassadin gets his one kill, and then it just turns into just a nightmare. So Kassadin gets that kill. That's going to get him closer to his Rod of Age. He's got 1800 gold. Now, it'll be super interesting to see how Kassadin actually utilizes this lead. So he gets the wave in. Stays, gets the next wave in. Beautiful, just use ult, nothing too special here. Oh. Wait, what happens here? How do they know he's on those raptors? Why does he check this? I don't know how he knew this. I think Kassadin should call off this play because yes, I mean it's safe because he's right next to his tower, but he's literally sitting on 2,200 gold. Like he needs to go back and get his roller soon, get his items, man. And he doesn't really have much mana. He doesn't have blue buff, so he can barely use his ultimate. He rift walks out here, uses his E on all of them. He doesn't panic and just rift walk out. He holds. But then they just get destroyed here. So he uses this little window here where Twisted Fate's chasing to get the next wave out. Love it. Really good choice. Beautiful. Looks like Thresh is going to hold that wave for Twisted Fate. But Twisted Fate won't freeze. It's too late. So now, what does Kassadin get? Kassadin actually buys a full Roa. Ends up selling his Doran's shield for a full Rod of Ages. Which I don't mind since... He actually has to TP back to this tower to defend it, but more importantly, if he doesn't buy his Roa now, it's going to be really hard for Kassadin to find a reset window to get that Rod of Ages again. Like, to recall again, get an item without giving way too much pressure. I actually want to quickly talk about this. Let's just say Kassadin comes back, and he say he doesn't want to sell his Doran's, because it's not actually optimal. You really don't want to sell your Doran's item this early in the game. But let's just say he comes back with a blasting wand and his catalyst, right? He comes back with that, and, or maybe he gets like a catalyst and upgrades his 2-2 boots or whatever. Now, what happens is that it's actually going to take him a while to get the amount of gold to get that Rod of Ages. But let's just say it's not even that much gold. Let's say he comes back, he TPs back to lane in this situation, but he doesn't have Roa. What will happen is that, okay, obviously he's actually not stacking up his Roa, which is incredibly important. But more importantly, Kassadin isn't a type of champion that can just like push the wave and recall again. If he does that, if he chooses to recall again, maybe he gets another like 300-400 gold to get his roller after that. What's going to happen is that Twisted Fate is actually going to have another play opportunity, because this is already the play opportunity number one. This is made off a recall of Kassadin and Graves, whatever. They killed Graves. This is allowed them to make a play here, because they know Kassadin is recalled. Now, again, you want to minimize the amount of plays the enemy can make. So if you're constantly recalling in the game, especially versus champions that can make plays, roams, a lot of roams, that sort of thing, unless your champion has a lot of wave clear, or you can get the wave out really, really quickly and come back before they can really make a play, then that's fine. But there's not many champions in the game that can reliably do that. Champion like Nocturne is really, really good at doing that. Talon can do that because he can actually get the wave quite fast. Victor, that sort of thing, with a lot of wave clear. But Kassadin isn't one of them. So keep that in mind when you are playing a champion like Kassadin. And I really respect that he does make this decision. Even though it feels bad in the moment, he knows that he can't afford to give that window again to the enemy. So he comes back here. TPs. Still, like, he's in a good spot now. He's got his Rod of Ages. Like, he's scaling up nicely. He's got 120 CS by 12 minutes, which is really good. Gets a ward down on one side. Now his bot's doing quite well. That's his win condition. Yes, his Aatrox is 48 CS to 111. And yes, this Trundle's very fair. And yes, this Kliss is quite strong. But Aphelios is very strong. So that's his win con. And that's why, and again, he's putting all his vision on bot side. This entire game, he's put his vision on bot side. He's accepted reality that Aatrox is like done. Yes, he put that pink ward once on top side, which I did disagree with for two reasons. It was bad location, but it was even on the wrong side. I think that Caps, has identified the winning side quite well this game. So he gets the wave in. What does he do here? Uses just to heal and get mana back. Just to get the mana back with his W. Bot lane's winning quite nicely, but Graves dies again. Okay, again, the same thing here, the same premise, guys. Look at this. So he walks up, he's ordering. He waits for Kassadin to use the W, and then he rift walks in, because he knows he can't get locked down. He knows he can aggressively, trade that mana and the potential resources for that wave, because he can't really get locked down. So he's just going over here to get his blue buff. Now his bot lane has actually got the bot tower. So we'll see if he actually swaps lane assignments here. So either he's going to go into the side lane, Aphelios and Tam are going to go mid, or he's just going to sit mid, match the TF, and then the Aphelios and Tam are going to go top. Or are they going to contest this dragon? I don't know. So it looks like Aphelios is going top to catch farm and maybe just giving this dragon off completely. Which I think it's fine, because red team already have one dragon, so it's not like the blue team's going to be able to stack dragons. No, if he gets a shut... Is this a shutdown? If he gets a shutdown... Oh, no. Oh, this makes me so angry. And this is why just situational awareness in terms of... Okay, you're understanding you're trading off dragon. There's no need to compensate. Just give it off. Let's just play to my strong side. Let's play to my strong members. As soon as he gets that blue buff, he doesn't dick around over here around the dragon. He knows that this is not his area. None of this is his area. The Kalista Thresher pushing out bot. Aatrox is a weak player on this bot side here. Not even anywhere near. His strong two members on the top side of the map. We're completely giving off the dragon. He does not waste time. Situational awareness. Understands GP's getting chased here. Holy moly. He put a ward on the... Oh my god, man, that's so nice. This Tam put a ward on the blast cone so he couldn't get it. That's so nice. That is what I love that, dude. Look at that. Oh, that's so pog, man. And then Kassadin comes. And this is what I hate about Kassadin. You get this one shutdown like this, and then it just feels so bad. Now GP cannot deal, because GP cannot deal with Kassadin as well. So this is, again, Caps hasn't really done anything special, but he hasn't compensated. I have to give props to him this game. His awareness in skirmishes has been good. Oh, this is a bit interesting. I'm not a fan of this. What does he know? Trundle just gets the dragon. Graves is on top side. He should not be looking to trade aggressively here. Okay. Maybe because he thinks that Twist of Fate doesn't have W here. But then Trundle's just hovering. Does he die? Nah. Okay. I'm not a fan of that play by Caps. Like, it doesn't do anything. Like, it really doesn't do anything. Like, he should just play for the wave right now. He should stay healthy, knowing that most likely there's going to be a Rift Herald fight, or potentially a Rift Herald contest. They're trading sides of the map here anyway. He should stay healthy, sit back, catch the wave here, lean onto top side here, play with his team, potentially hover in here, allow them to get this tower, or keep eyes onto the Twist of Fate. He doesn't need to hardcore engage on him. But maybe he thought, maybe he was thinking next level. Maybe he thought, okay, there's no way Trundle's going to be hovering me here. Maybe this Trundle's just going to be, you know, trading sides of the map here. Walking up here aggressively, looking to dive this this Aatrox or hover to kill this Aatrox or make sure they can get that tier 2 rather than cross map or go anywhere near mid because it's a Kassadin with Rift Walk. Because that is the case sometimes. Sometimes junglers literally pan their camera mid. They see there's like a level 11 or a level 10 Kassadin or whatever with Rift Walk. They're like, well, there's no point me even going remotely near mid because I'm not going to be able to kill him. But, you know, if he Rift Walks in, you can. So he ends up blowing his flash. Okay. So Graves is on the Rift Herald. Ooh. He's pushing his limits, that's for sure. Wait, he can kill TF here, 100%. Ooh. There we go. Oh. Okay. Okay. So, what does he see here? I don't know about this play, man. This is what I'm talking about. Okay, this is like the craps thing. Like, he pushes his limits so hard. You look at Showmaker. Showmaker would never make this play. I watched a lot of Showmaker. He does not make these plays. Graves is on this. Felios is topside. Aatrox is getting dive bot. I mean, yes, his Tarm is hovering. But it's so unnecessary. So risky. It's like, why risk? Why risk? Because then your Graves is going to have to give up Rift Herald if you die here. But he knows his limits. He pushes his limits. He Rift Walks out. Plays his scrappy 2v2 skirmishes. He loves this chaos. This is what all G2 members love. And specifically Caps. Like, they love chaos. Pushing their limits. And they trade kills. Which trading kills as Kassadin is just good anyway. If you ever have an opportunity to trade kills as Kassadin, always do it. Because gold means a lot more in Kassadin than any other champion. So, maybe he's willing to just trade those kills. Take the sloppy 1-for-1. Goes for it. Blows Twist of Fate's flash. Ends up being okay. The downside is that they don't end up getting this. The downside is that Graves has to get off of this Rift Herald. Because, you know, Caps goes for that play. So, I don't know about that. I feel quite bad for this jungler if he has to give that up. Okay. Uses the top pressure. A bit scrappy here. Okay, he's lucky. So, Kassadin's going for a chase down. This is the classic Kassadin. Oh, is he gonna... Nah, he can't reach that. He's going for it. He's hungry. Holy moly. He'll get the mana from that. Presence of Mind. Nah, he can't. Oh, that's going to cost a lot of mana. He's got 4 stacks. Okay, he gets out. Clean. Okay. So what has he got now? He's got Lost Chapter. He's got his tier. He's quite strong now. He's level 12. And now it's just getting out of control. I mean, right now, it's like they they really screwed up this game. Like, I don't feel like Zazie really pushed his lead. We'll talk about that later, but right now, this is his prime time for Kassadin. He's nearly got to his 2 items. He hasn't really been shut down enough. He's got a winning side. If Kassadin has a winning side, he's versing a pretty low, I'd say moderately low lockdown. Like, Trundle can't lock him down. Callista doesn't really do the best job at locking him down. GP can't lock him down. It's only Twisted Fate. And again, that's not a super reliable... I mean, it is pretty reliable, but if he's behind like this and he's 0-3, there's not much threat there. And especially when there's another threatening target. Now, actually, one point I want to talk about here. Kassadin is very strong in multi-threat comps. When you have another strong member on your team as Kassadin, whether it's a strong top laner, like a really fed like Aurelia or something like that, or a Darius or a Camille, or a fed 80 carry, conversely here, strong Aphelios, it's incredibly hard to deal with Kassadin because a lot of the time, you're going to be versing people with single target CC. It's very rare that you got AoE stun or anything like that, right? So, this Twisted Fate has to make a choice. Do I want to lock down this Aphelios? Or do I want to lock down this Kassadin? And actually, something I haven't even spoken about this game is that Tarm counters that so hard. Tarm actually counters Twisted Fate's gold card incredibly hard. So there's no way that they can lock down either of these members anymore with Tarm as well. So that's also something to think about with Kassadin. So he's just hovering on the side here, knowing that there could be a potential fight here. Just hovering. Like that. Ooh. Okay, this is beautiful here, by the way, guys. This is Kassadin. It's the same as any assassin, whether you're playing Echo, Fizz, any of these champions. They don't want to be coming in from this way because they're extremely linear champions who need to get backline access. If you're sitting in broad daylight in front of everyone over here, you're sending signals to everyone saying, "Hi, everyone, I'm over here. As long as you see me, I'm never going to kill you." That sort of thing. Like, there's no way. You're gonna have way less threat. So Caps understands if I sit on the side here, and if they commit, I get full backline access, and it's going to be so much easier to get onto the Callista or the Twisted Fate or whoever it is. And that way, they're going to most likely use their CC on someone else first, and then you can wait for that to happen, then you can go in. So it's very important you put yourself in these sorts of situations. Because even if nothing happens here, it's completely fine. Like, yes, he's not really getting side lane farm, but he's still backing up his team just in case something happens. So he's able to go in, blows the flash here, and gets out. He's looking to loop around here again. Ooh. Okay. I just really like his creativity with his positioning, and he's always pushing his limits. Oh. And again, that just really comes down to Champion Master, really understanding how your champion wants to position in fights. Do you want to come in from the front? Do you need to be behind your front line? Do you want to get backline access? That sort of thing. Dude, Chaps did a really great job there. Now it looks like it's just the Aphelios show at this point, but he gets his Archangels. I'm surprised he hasn't opted in for a Mercs this game. Maybe it's because he felt like he was too far ahead, that he didn't really feel threatened even when he got stunned because he had Legend Tenacity anyway. So maybe he just felt like he didn't need it and he wanted to value that gold, put that gold onto his items at AP. Okay, goes in, gets another cleanup kill. Gets a blue buff, I'm assuming. Get some jungle camps on the way out. By the way, massive tip, guys. After you do a siege, and let's just say you kill them, you siege, whatever, you get the tower. It's extremely valuable, and if this is a way to guarantee wins. You don't need kills to win games. It's actually resource. Resources don't just come from kills. Resources, a lot of the time, come from jungle camps. So what you do here, you always leave time to take a few camps. Whether it's you tell your 80 carry to get these raptors at high elo, everyone just does it anyway because they understand this concept. But you know, you want to take as many camps as possible. Graves should take Gromp here. You should take wolves. 80 carry should take raptors if they're up. taking as many camps as possible is the way to go. Because when these guys come back on the map, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to get these waves out, and then they're going to go to their jungle camps. And if they don't have jungle camps, you're getting twice the amount of jungle camps. You're getting the enemy jungle camps, and you're getting your ones, and you're denying them. So you're simultaneously getting ahead, and you're getting more resources, and they're getting less resources. So it's like a double whammy. So yeah, they take all the Gromp, the wolves, the blue, beautiful. Oh, this is interesting. And this is the problem with Trundle here. No lockdown. This is an int. Craps. Alright, this is an int. Okay, let's take a look at this. So, what's the good thing about this play? The good thing about this play is he sees Trundle split. Maybe he thought Twist of Fate was going to be near this Callisto, or maybe going bot. I don't know. The bad thing, and his team's not really in his position. They all need to recall. They have a lot of gold. His 80 carry's been on the map for a long time. 2,600 gold. Gray's been on the map for a long time. They got all their resources. Beautiful time to recall. Dragon's coming up in something like, what, like 40 seconds or whatever. It's a beautiful time to recall. He can get his mercs, come back, whatever. Going for a play now is really not optimal. Maybe what he was thinking actually was trying to come in on the flank. But it looks like, no, he's going for Cass. He's going for Trundle here. Wasn't expecting TF to be in the area. And dies. Now, again, I can't tell if this is Caps pushing his limits, trying to make a pick. Because if they got that pick, then it basically secures the dragon anyway. But I feel like they don't need to do that. They win the fights anyway. So as you can see, Caps is the sort of player that will make those push limit plays. It may look a bit int. You know, whether you're watching him on competitive or stream or whatever, it may look a bit like he's inting or not trying, but that's just him pushing his limits, trying creative things, because that's how you're really going to understand your damage output. You're going to understand timings, how long it takes people to get to certain locations, that sort of thing. So, fire's breaking out, team's getting slaughtered. Felios is really fed. Kassadin just goes top because he knows that they're going to get the dragon anyway, I'm assuming. So he's like, alright, screw it. I'm just going to continue to go top, value that farm. Gets the Krugs as well. Beautiful. I love this. I love mid laners that don't skip Krugs. They just always get camps. This is how you guarantee wins. You get jungle camps. He's got his Mercs now, got his Seras. Beautiful. He should be stacking up his ultimate here to 1 or 2 stacks at least. Chasing him down. Whoa, well played by Trick, man. That was well played. Flash ult. Gets another kill. Presence of mind. Can't chase him. What happens here? Again, look what he's doing here. He's always trying to position from the side. His default response isn't just, oh, group mid, go mid, even though we're strong. It's always, I want to find a way to come in from the side. If they're coming in from here or going down mid lane, he's going to come in from the side. He doesn't want to walk down the river and just show in plain sight. So he's always coming in from the side like this. And ideally, you want to be stacking up your passive to 1 or 2. Goes into the back line. Oh. I think he misses E there. Gets another kill, and then it's just over, man. Beautiful. I think the enemy just FFs here. Cool. GG. Boom. Alright, so what we'll do now is dive into the key takeaways and see what we can, take from Caps here and implement into our own games. So let's begin to break down and sort through some of the main takeaways from this VOD review. So I want to start by looking at the positives. The first thing that I reiterated a lot within this VOD review was that Caps is great at walking that tightrope. Not giving too much pressure, but not playing so aggressively that you die and play unnecessarily aggressive. I feel like he does a very, very great job at pushing his limits, not giving too much pressure, walking that tightrope. Now, something that I didn't talk about within the VOD specifically was about He did a great job at not letting the enemy build waves into him, especially when the enemy used abilities on the wave. Whenever Twisted Fate used a pick a card or a red card on the wave, then Caps would then rift walk onto the wave, thin the wave out, so Twisted Fate really couldn't either make a proactive play or didn't have enough time to make a proactive play because Kassadin was, putting wards out, spotting Twisted Fate all the time, because also Kassadin's Q cancels Twisted Fate's R as well, for those of you who didn't know that, because it's not a silence. I don't know if it's a silence, but it's an interrupt or whatever the hell. I don't really know what it's called, but it's an interrupt. But anyway, if you play like a bitch, what actually happens is that the enemy can build waves into you, which progressively over the course of 10 minutes within a game allows the enemy to get a lot of tower damage. Now, if Caps allowed Twisted Fate in this game to get a lot more tower damage, when they did rift mid, if Twisted Fate had already gotten 2 plates alone, or 2 or 3 plates alone, when they rifted mid, then what would have happened? They would have been able to break that tier 1 tower, which could have potentially exploded the game and actually changed the entire course of events that happened in that game. So that's something to think about, and why walking that tightrope is such an important skill to possess. Caps did a really good job at identifying the weak and strong side within the game. You could kind of see that by the location of his wards, the sides of his wards, but more importantly, where he was always hovering. He didn't really hover topside at all. He was generally either playing around his jungle's location or he was hovering towards the bot side of the map. He understood that Aatrox was completely out of that game. I think his TP usage was really, really good. His wave manipulation was really, really solid as well. He froze in the early game. He denied a lot of CS. He always pushed waves out whenever Twisted Fate was doing something. He denied a lot of CS. And overall, just in mid-game as well, his TP usage was super solid. He was always either coming in from the flank, protecting towers. Overall, just solid, super solid TP usage. And more importantly, his situational awareness was great. Whenever there was a skirmish breaking out, he was always there. He was never hesitating. He wasn't leaning to the incorrect side. He knew as soon as the fight broke out, he was there. He didn't miss position, didn't do incorrect pathing, anything like that. So situational awareness and just overall awareness of what was going on the map was very, very solid. So I was very impressed with that. Again, creative positioning that was coherent with Kassadin's identity. He wasn't just coming in from the front in plain sight every single time. He was always finding ways to get behind people, coming in from an angle, coming in from the side. Now, this is, if you are a Kassadin player, this is something that I would probably spend a disproportionate amount of time looking at, because again, the opportunities are endless, and especially when you play Kassadin, if you are just coming in from plain sight, they see exactly where you are. You're going to get locked down. You're going to be scared to rift walk in. The carries are always going to position away from you. You're never really going to find you're not going to find a way to be impactful in those mid to late game team fights. So very, very important for making picks and everything. Also, he had great composure. Even though he got set behind in the early game, he had 2 losing sides. It didn't look like he tilted at all. He was always pushing his limits, and his CSing was amazing. He very rarely missed any CS, and that just shows how important CSing is, especially when you're playing a champion like Kassadin. Now for some of the negatives. There was a few interesting plays in regards to some of those skirmishes. I didn't totally agree with the way he played some of them. He played overly aggressive or made some decisions which really weren't coherent with what else was happening on the map, which leads me to my second point, which I don't think he played that well around Graves. Whenever Graves was doing something else, whether it was recalling, doing Rift Herald or whatever, he was always trying to make a pick or doing something. I don't know if this was, maybe he was testing his limits, trying to practice Kassadin. I don't know. I'm just going from this VOD that I saw. I feel like, yeah, he didn't really do a great job of this. And I actually think he made Graves' life kind of hard in a few situations, especially around the Rift Herald and when they're all recalling, that sort of thing. But I feel like his ward usage, it wasn't amazing, especially that one pink ward. I feel like that one pink ward was quite sloppy. I didn't last long. I didn't really achieve anything. And that's something I would probably look at if I was Caps as well. I feel like the build was very greedy. This wasn't necessarily a negative. I think it's more just questionable. Something that I would raise concern towards. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the late Mercs purchase. I don't know if I agree with building early tier like he did. I don't know. I probably would have either went Blasting Wand or maybe even just the mana crystal with a ruby crystal. I don't know. It really depends on your style of playing Kassadin. For me, I love getting that roller as fast as possible, and I really don't like building an early tier. But again, he just probably felt like, I just want a hardcore scale. I'm not going to do anything anyway. It's just something I would raise concern around. And that's the last point I had. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, learned a thing or two. Even if you're taking away one or two things, that's still great. Let me know what other players you would want to see. A few ones I'm thinking about. Obviously, we're going to do Faker. We're going to do Nemesis, Jensen or Bjergsen, some of those players. I don't know. Let me know. Put in the comments below or message me within the Discord in the content request section. Cheers. Thanks for watching, guys.